Hey folks, this is Mr. Wemp here, and I'm going to talk to you about some class expectations that we have for netiquette in our class. Basically, what we're looking at is what are the expectations that you will have when interacting with others in this online form. We're going to cover some different topics, mostly looking at netiquette. What is netiquette? Emoticons and text lingo, how your responses should look, what kind of grammar should you be using. We're also going to look at expectations for communication. We're going to talk briefly about what the response will be to issues with netiquette, as far as you not being able to use proper netiquette. Some basic rules for you being safe. And finally, some issues with plagiarism, so copying. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the first set. What is netiquette? So we can see that netiquette is the proper use of internet or internet conduct that is respectful, polite, and socially acceptable in an online community. Okay, so basically, the same kinds of rules that you would have in interacting with people in the real world, you would also have in the online environment. So obviously no profanity. This is a classroom environment, so if you're in a classroom you wouldn't be swearing. Cyberbullying would be treated the same as regular bullying or harassment. And generally for bullying, there are serious consequences in a brick and mortar school, so there would be similar consequences here in the online environment. Okay, so netiquette is looking at that whole system. Okay, first thing I want to talk about is emoticons and text lingos. You guys should know what an emoticon is. When you're typing on the keyboard, sometimes it looks like this, and then a dash, and then a smile. And what that gives you, so you have a dash, a colon, and a parenthesis, and that gives you your nice little smiley face. Okay, that one looks a little evil. There's lots of different emoticons. You know, you have the big eyes, and then the exclamation point, all those different things. So emoticons, generally speaking, in communication in this online class, basically you should not use them. About the only time that they would pop up would be in a friendly email or in a chat session where everything's very informal. But anytime you have any kind of formal communication, these are a big no-no. They are not considered professional. They in fact would be the opposite of professional. They're considered to be very just not professional. So when you're using those, especially if you're trying to communicate with a teacher or something like that, it really gives off the impression that you're not serious about the communication. Okay, it should be. We are striving on using academic and professional skills, and so oftentimes out in the world, you would give an email or send an email or a request or something like that. And it would have to be very professional, and you would definitely not have emoticons in there. You wouldn't have phrases like LOL or OMG, things like that, IDK. If you don't know and there's no answer, generally that means you don't know. You don't have to write IDK. Okay, so emoticons and text lingo are only appropriate for texting, chats, and social or informal settings and creative writing in our class. How you use those in your personal life is up to you, but keep in mind that anytime you want something to appear professional, text lingo and emoticons definitely should not be there. If you are going to the store for some bread, you would not put the number 4 down. You would put FOR and spell the word that you're using. Don't use shortened text style lingo. Okay? Correct grammar. Correct grammar is a big one. We're expecting correct grammar, so we always want to make sure that our grammar is accurate. We're teaching good writing, so we want to have good writing. And what is good writing? Well, you could go on and on about that, but basically when you read it out loud, it should sound correct. Okay, that's proofreading. That's a huge skill that will make your communication not only sound more professional but look more correct, and it really gives off a better impression of you. Okay? To help with that, you have many spell checkers that are available. If you're using Google Chrome, it has a spell checker built in. If you have a word processing software, Microsoft Office, Pages, OpenOffice, LibreOffice, any of those, they all have built-in spell checkers. Google will spell check words for you. There's really just no excuses for having misspelled words. But on top of misspelled words, that you still need to go in and proofread, because just because it's spelled correctly, it may not be the correct word you're looking for. So we always want to make sure we have correct grammar, that we're using spelling, punctuation, good writing, and spell check. Huge, huge, huge deal, especially in your communications. Just because it's a quick post doesn't mean it can have misspelled words. Now, chat, email, and texting. These are three significantly different things. So chat, email, and texting. Okay? If you're texting information, the whole point of a text is that it's short, sweet, and to the point. Abbreviations, emoticons, things like that, totally appropriate. In fact, those are what they're designed for. Chat is a similar situation. You're chatting back and forth. You're not having in-depth conversations. You're not conveying a ton of information. You're not trying to do professional information. So chatting, texting, use your judgment. Email, however, whenever you email should use academic and professional formats, especially when emailing with the instructor or classmates. Your own personal email that you're sending to your mom, that can be any format you want. However, when you're emailing me or any other instructors, you need to use academic and professional format. That means spell check, check for grammar, make sure that you're concise and to the point. Don't go on and on. Just keep it very professional. Texts, tweets, chats, obviously those are casual and informal, so those won't be as strict. Problems, if we have netiquette problems. So far we haven't really addressed anything. It's not really a netiquette problem to have misspelled words or anything like that. However, cyberbullying would be a big one. Profanity would be a big one. Continued use of things that are not allowed or that you've been requested not to express in a forum, that would fall under these guidelines. So both you and your parents are required to sign a contract that you will abide by the rules of our online environment. This is to aid you in that. Okay. So students with netiquette issues will be contacted privately. Generally, a netiquette issue is not something you bring out in the open, but you will be contacted if there's any issues with netiquette, especially with plagiarism, bullying, profanity, things like that. There's a plan in place for consequences, so that can be referred to in the contract. Maybe apologies, suspension from the internet use of the discussion boards. There's lots of different things that can happen as consequences, but hopefully those won't be an issue. But those are all outlined in the contract, and those will be abided by. Personal favorite of mine is rules for being safe. People, especially young people, have a tendency to put everything that they do in their life on the internet, and nothing that gets put on the internet can ever be taken back. Everything that's on there will stay there forever. Now, just because you delete something, many times what happens is there's a word called caching, and the internet builds a cache or a storage of everything that happens on the internet. So everything you do, if I type the word "the" on my Facebook page and then delete it, at some point that word "the" has been saved. And it shows up, and I could find it if I dug deep enough and dug hard enough. I could find every little thing that I've ever done on the internet. Nothing ever goes away. Nothing that you post ever goes away. Okay? Even websites that don't exist anymore, websites that have been taken down, you can find them. You can find stored, archived copies of them online. So everything you do is forever. So keep that in mind when you're putting things on the internet or on Facebook or posting to blogs, posting to comments sections, anything like that. Just keep that in mind. So you definitely want to protect your personal identity. Okay? Any information that would give away who you are or your passwords definitely needs to be protected, and don't put that out there. Okay? Protect your digital footprint. We've kind of already talked about that. Things you put on there will stay there forever. And obviously never give out personal information in a public forum. Okay? So I may be asking for personal information. It may be password protected. However, if you're just on like a message board or a help board and for Google or something like that, never give out your personal information. People can use that information against you in all sorts of ways. So many that I won't even get into right here, but just never give out personal information if it's public. And finally, I want to touch on plagiarism. Plagiarism is it's so easy to plagiarize and not even know that you're doing it. And so one thing that can help you is don't ever copy and paste directly from an online source. And if you just follow that simple guideline right there, you should be pretty solid and not have to worry about plagiarism. Most of the time, that doesn't mean you can't get information from an online source. You can. You just have to make sure that you paraphrase that information and then give credit with citations. If you don't do that, then that information will be construed as your own, which it obviously is not, and then that is considered plagiarism. So always make sure that if you get information online that's not your original content, that you give credit to whoever created that content. And then it's also a good idea to paraphrase it. That does two things. One, it makes you know what it is that you're actually putting on there. And two, it actually shows me that you know what you just put on there. If you can paraphrase it, which means put it in your own words. What does it mean to you? Okay? So always make sure you do that. That's basically the end of our basic guidelines for netiquette in this class. What I have included is, there should be a link down in this area that pops up. You should be able to click on that link. There's an online form. It's a Google form, and it has a set of questions that you'll answer. It's kind of a scavenger hunt. So you'll actually go online and you'll do some of these things, find some definitions and descriptions, and then you'll fill that form out. Once you fill it out, you submit it, and that'll come to me. So I hope you enjoyed this, and hopefully you found it helpful. Please feel free to email me with any questions, and I'll be happy to try to answer them for you. Thank you.